The first time I heard Unit 713, I thought I misread the screen. It was 2:11 a.m., the kind of hour where everything slows down. Calls get quieter, voices softer. Even the lights in the dispatch room feel dimmer, like they're tired too. I remember leaning back in my chair, staring at the monitor, half focused, when a new call blinked in. Routine disturbance. Residential. Nothing strange. Until I saw the assigned unit. 713. I frowned. That number didn't sit right. I've been working night dispatch for almost 6 years. You memorize unit numbers without trying. It just happens, like muscle memory, like knowing your own phone number. And 713, it wasn't one of ours. At first, I thought maybe I missed a shift update. Maybe a new unit got added. It happens sometimes. So I did what I always do. I checked the system, the list of active patrol units, scrolled down the side of my screen. 201, 305, 412, 622, number 713. I scrolled again, slower this time. Nothing. A small, quiet feeling settled in my chest. Not fear. Not yet. Just confusion. Then the radio cracked. A voice came through. Calm. Clear. Dispatch Unit 713. En route. I froze. The room was silent except for that one voice echoing from the speaker. It sounded normal. Too normal. Male voice. Mid-30s maybe. Steady tone. No background noise. No static. Like he was sitting right next to me. My hand hovered over the keyboard. I didn't respond right away. I don't know why. Maybe because something in me already knew this was a routine. I cleared my throat and pressed the mic. Unit 713, confirm your assignment. A small pause. Then, domestic disturbance. 1142 West Carroll. Call report shouting. Exactly what was on my screen. Every detail matched. My fingers moved automatically. Typing. Logging. But my eyes kept drifting back to the unit list. Still number 713. Unit 713, I said slowly. Confirm your badge number. Another pause. Longer this time. For a second, I thought the line dropped. Then, dispatch repeat. His tone hadn't changed. Still calm. Still controlled. But something about the pause felt wrong. Like he needed a moment to decide what to say. I leaned forward. Confirm your badge number. Silence. Not static. Not interference. Just silence. I glanced at the other dispatcher across the room. Sam. He was busy with another call. Headset tilted slightly. Scribbling something on a notepad. Everything looked normal. Except it wasn't. Unit 713, respond. I said, a little sharper now. The radio clicked. Then, on scene. My stomach tightened. That was too fast. The address was at least 10 minutes away. I checked the timestamp. Less than a minute had passed since he said he was en route. That's not possible. I stared at the map. The GPS tracking showed nothing. No unit approaching. No vehicle nearby. Just an empty street. And yet, dispatch. The voice came again, softer now, requesting backup. Something changed in his tone. Still calm, but thinner. Like there was less of him behind the words. What's your status? I asked. A faint sound slipped through the radio. Not a voice. Something else. A low, dragging noise. Like furniture moving across the floor. Then, they said no one called. My fingers stopped moving. Repeat. I whispered. They said no one called. He said again. Same words. Same tone. But now, there was something underneath. Something tight. Like he was holding something back. I pulled up the caller info. Still active. Line open. I switched channels and patched through. Ma'am, this is dispatch. Can you confirm the disturbance? A woman answered, confused. What disturbance? My throat went dry. He reported shouting. Possible domestic. No, she cut in quickly. I didn't call anyone. I stared at the screen. The number matched. The address matched. Everything matched, except her voice. It didn't sound scared. It sounded annoyed. Behind her, the house was quiet. Too quiet. No shouting. No movement. Nothing. I slowly switched back to radio. Unit 713, verify situation. No answer. Just that faint, dragging sound again. Closer this time. Then, they're looking at me. A chill ran through my arms. Who is? I asked. No reply. The line stayed open. I could hear something now. Very faint. Breathing. Not one person. More than one. Soft. Slow. In sync. Like a room full of people trying not to be heard. My chest tightened. Unit 713, identify yourself. I said louder now. The breathing stopped. Completely. For a moment, there was nothing. Then the voice came back. Quieter than before. They don't have faces. I felt my hand slip slightly on the desk. What? They're still standing. A long pause. Then, dispatch, you sent me here. My mouth opened, but no words came out. Because I didn't. I never assigned him. I never sent anyone. The system did. Or something did. Suddenly, the line cut. Dead silence. I stared at the console. The call log blinked once. Then updated. Incident resolved. My heart skipped. Resolved? By who? There was no report. No notes. No closure code. Just resolved. I quickly reopened the unit list. Still number 713. I checked archived units. Nothing. I checked system logs. Nothing. Like it never existed. Like that voice never spoke. Like that call never happened. But I still had the recording. I reached for it. Clicked playback. The audio started. Static. Then my own voice. Unit 713. Confirm your assignment. I waited. Nothing came after. No reply. No second voice. Just me talking to silence. My stomach dropped. I replayed it. Same thing. Only my voice. Number 713. No breathing. No dragging sound. Nothing. I leaned back slowly, my chair creaking under me. Across the room, Sam looked up. You good? He asked. I nodded. Too quickly. Yeah, I said. Just long night. He shrugged and went back to work. Normal. Everything looked normal again. But something was wrong. Because a few seconds later, another call came in. Different address. Different situation. But when the system auto-assigned a unit, I didn't need to look twice. I already knew what it would say. Unit 713. And this time, before I could even touch the mic, the radio clicked on by itself. Dispatch? The voice said, calm as ever, I'm already on my way. I didn't sleep after that. Not even for a minute. I just sat there staring at the console, watching calls come in and trying not to look at the unit column. But my eyes kept going there anyway, because I knew what I'd see, or what I wouldn't see. Unit 713 still wasn't in the live system, but the radio kept acting like it was. Every few minutes, a new call would come in, routine stuff at first, noise complaints, welfare checks, a minor traffic accident, normal night shift chaos. But then the assignment started to repeat. Same structure, same pattern. And every time the system auto-assigned units, 713 kept appearing, even though it shouldn't. I finally stood up around 3 a.m., walked over to Sam's station. Hey, I said quietly, you ever heard of Unit 713? He didn't even look up. No, that answer should have helped. It didn't, because it meant I wasn't missing something obvious. It meant nobody else knew. Or worse, nobody else was supposed to. I went back to my desk and opened the system logs. The deeper logs. The ones we're technically not supposed to dig into during shift. I filtered by unit history. Nothing. Filtered again. Nothing. Then I tried something else. I searched for 713 in any form. Still nothing. Not even a broken record. Not even a deleted entry. It was like the number didn't exist inside the system at all. But I had heard it. I had spoken to it. I had logged it. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have. I opened archived dispatch records. Old cases. Closed incidents. Months, years going back. At first, everything looked normal. Then I saw it. A faint entry. Unusual formatting. No unit listed. Just assisted response completed. No details. No timestamp clarity. But at the bottom, a tag. 713. My breath stopped for a second. I clicked it. The screen loaded slowly. Too slowly. Like the system didn't want to show me. The file opened. And immediately, something felt wrong. The case report was blurred in places. Whole lines were missing. Not redacted. Just gone. But I could still read fragments. Disturbance reported, no caller identified. Unit responded within 3 minutes. Scene description inconsistent. And then, officer on scene reports subject not visible in standard lighting conditions. I lean closer. What does that even mean? I scroll down. The report continued. Backup requested, but no dispatch confirmation exists in system. My chest tightened. That meant someone had called for backup, but the system didn't record it, or erased it, or never accepted it. Then the final line, the one that made my fingers go cold. Unit designation unverified. Response attributed to unknown patrol asset. Unknown patrol asset. That phrase shouldn't exist in any official record. I slammed the keyboard slightly harder than I meant to. Sam looked over again. Everything okay over there? He asked. I forced a nod. Yeah, system lagged. He went back to work. But I wasn't okay, because I was starting to see a pattern now. These weren't random calls. They were connected. All of them. And every one of them mentioned Unit 713 in some form, even when the system didn't. I opened another file. Then another. Then another. Same structure. Different cases. Same missing gaps. Same impossible unit. And every single time, the system refused to fully show it. Like it was fighting me. Like something inside the database was actively rewriting itself while I watched. Then at 3:47 a.m., everything froze. Not my screen. Not the system. Just the feeling. Like the room itself held its breath. Then the archive page refreshed on its own. A new file appeared. No search input. No command. Just there. Fresh. Unopened. My cursor moved without me thinking. Clicked it. The file opened instantly. No loading delay this time. Which was worse. Because that meant it was ready. Waiting. This report was different. Cleaner. More complete. But only at first glance. Title. Night Incident Log. Unit 713 Response. My mouth went dry. I didn't type that. No one did. But there it was. I read slowly. Unit 713 dispatched at 2:11 hours to residential disturbance. My stomach twisted. That matched tonight. That exact time. Then, on arrival, scene was already active despite no prior escalation. I paused. That didn't make sense. Then the next line, and that's where everything shifted. Dispatcher confirmed verbal contact with unit. I froze. That was me. That was my shift. But I didn't authorize anything. I didn't confirm anything. And yet, it was written like I did. Like it was already history. Like it already happened. My hand started shaking slightly. I scrolled faster. Subject reports no memory of initiating emergency call. Same as tonight. Exact same. My breathing got heavier. Then, audio logs indicate secondary voice interference during transmission. I clicked playback. Nothing. No audio. Just silence. But the report still referenced it like it existed. Like someone had heard something I couldn't. Then I saw the final section. And I wish I hadn't. Unit 713 status. Active. That should have been it. But below that line was a timestamp. Updated. In real time. 3:49 a.m. Active response ongoing. I looked at the clock on my wall. 3:49 a.m. My heart started pounding harder. Because that meant the system wasn't showing history. It was showing now. I stood up slowly. Looked toward Sam. He was gone. His chair empty. But his headset still on the desk. Light still blinking. I swallowed hard. Sam, I called out. No answer. I walked over. His screen was still active, but frozen. His last open file wasn't a call log. It was unit tracking. And on the map, there was a single blinking dot. Moving. No label. No unit number. Just motion. heading toward a residential zone. I stepped back slowly, because I already knew, before I even checked, I already knew what it would say if I zoomed in, but I did it anyway. I clicked. The label loaded slowly. One word appeared. 713. Behind me, the radio crackled again. I didn't need to turn around. I already knew the voice, but it spoke anyway. Calm. Close. Too close. Dispatch. I froze. Stopped checking the records. My fingers went cold, and for the first time, I realized something terrifying. It wasn't just responded calls anymore. It was watching what I did between them, and I wasn't sure anymore if Unit 713 was in the system, or if the system was inside Unit 713. The radio stayed open. That's the first thing I noticed. Not static, not silence. Open, like something had lifted the receiver and refused to put it down. Dispatch. The voice again. Calm. Same tone as before, but now it felt closer. Not through speakers anymore, but inside the room. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My hands were still hovering over Sam's desk. His screen was frozen on that blinking dot. Unit 713, moving slowly across the map, like it was walking, not driving, walking through streets that didn't match vehicle speed. I swallowed hard and took one step back. The radio clicked again. I can still hear you breathing. My throat tightened. I finally spoke, but my voice came out weaker than I expected. Where's my partner? A pause. Longer this time. Not empty, but occupied, like something was thinking. Then he left the room. I looked around fast. The dispatch center was still the same. Same dim lights. Same humming computers. Same flickering monitors. But it felt thinner, like part of it had been erased while I wasn't looking. I checked Sam's station again. Chair empty. Headset still there. Coffee half finished. But no sign of him walking out. No door alert. No movement logs. Nothing. It was like he had been edited out mid-sentence. The radio spoke again. Do you want him back? My stomach dropped. That question didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a condition. Like something I could accept or refuse. I stepped closer to the console, forcing my voice steady. Were you? Silence. Then a faint sound. Not static. Not breathing this time. Footsteps. Slow. Inside the audio feed. Like someone walking on gravel. Then, you already know. I shook my head slightly. No. I whispered. I don't. A soft exhale came through the radio. Almost like disappointment. Then the voice changed. Just slightly. Same tone but less human. Like the edges of the words were wearing off. Then why do you keep assigning me? My fingers froze on the desk. I didn't assign you, I said quickly. The system did. A pause. Then, the system only listens. That sentence hit harder than I expected, because I suddenly realized I had never manually sent Unit 713. Not once. Every time it appeared, it came from auto-assignment logic, from a process I trusted without thinking, a system I never questioned, and now it was being used like a door, something knocking from the other side. The map on Sam's screen flickered. The blinking stopped moving, paused, right at a location, a house, not far from the center of town. I leaned closer. The address matched an active call from earlier, but something was different now. The incident label had changed. It no longer said residential disturbance. Now it read, ongoing response, no dispatch required. My breath caught. No dispatch required? I whispered it without realizing. The radio answered immediately. I'm already inside. My heart slammed in my chest. No, I said out loud now, sharper. That's not possible. Units need clearance. A soft interruption. You still think I am a unit? That made me stop. The room felt colder suddenly. Not temperature. Something else. Presence. I slowly turned toward the glass window of the dispatch center. The parking lot outside was empty, but the reflection on the glass wasn't matching the room perfectly anymore. The lights inside were slightly offset, like reality was delayed by a fraction of a second. I blinked hard, looked again. The reflection of Sam's empty chair was not empty. Just for a second, something was sitting there, still, facing me. I stepped back immediately, but when I looked again, nothing, only the chair. My breathing got faster. The radio clicked again, this time softer, closer. You saw me. My hand started shaking. I saw nothing, I said quickly. A faint sound came through. Not a laugh, not a voice, just recognition, like it had expected that answer. Then, check the live feed. I hesitated. Every instinct told me not to, but I did anyway. I opened the building cameras. Hallway feed, empty. Entrance, empty. Dispatch room. My breath stopped. The camera showed me, sitting at my desk, headset on, talking into the mic. But I wasn't speaking. My real body stood behind the desk, watching the screen, frozen, like the camera had split me into two versions, one inside the system, one outside it. My voice came through the radio again, but it wasn't from me. It was from the version on the screen. I'm still responding. My legs went weak for a second. I grabbed the edge of the desk. "No," I whispered. "That's not me." The voice replied immediately. "Then why does the system think it is?" The cameras flickered. The feed glitched. For half a second, I saw Sam, standing in the hallway, not walking, just standing, staring at something I couldn't see. Then the feed snapped back, empty again. I turned around fast. The hallway outside the dispatch room was dark. Too dark. The emergency lights should have been on. They weren't. The radio crackled. "Dispatch." The voice was quieter now, almost patient. "You keep checking the wrong side of the system." My throat tightened. What does that mean? A pause. Then, "I am not inside the calls." Another pause. "I am what answers them." My chest felt tight, like the air had become heavier. The map on the screen changed again. The blinking moved, but not forward this time. Toward me, slow, steady, like it already knew where I was standing. I stepped back instinctively. The radio clicked one last time. Final, clear, open the door. I froze. "No," I said immediately. A pause. Long. Then, "You already did." Behind me, the door handle moved. Just slightly. Not opening. Not closing. Just testing. Like something on the other side was making sure I was still there. Still available. Still responding. The lights in the dispatch room flickered once. And in that moment of darkness, I realized something that made my stomach drop completely. The system wasn't malfunctioning. It wasn't haunted. It wasn't broken. It was still operating perfectly, because I was still inside it. And Unit 713 wasn't arriving. It was already here. And I had been talking to it the entire time. The radio went silent. For the first time. No voice. No breathing. No static. Just silence. Then, softly, from behind me, not the radio this time, a voice in the room. "Dispatch." I didn't turn around, because I already knew the shift wasn't ending. It was just changing where I stood in it. It always started the same way. 2:13 a.m. every single night. The radio would crack once, like it was waking up. Then that voice. Calm, soft, almost polite. "Dispatch. I need to report something." At first, I thought it was just another regular caller. People call at night for weird things all the time. But this one never changed. Same tone, same breathing rhythm, same slight pause before speaking. Like he was reading from memory instead of reacting. "Go ahead," I said the first night. And that's when it started. Someone broke into my house. Simple enough. We get those calls. But something about his voice made me sit up straighter. No panic, no shaking, just description. He entered through the back door. Black jacket. Left shoe squeaks when he walks. I typed it down. Standard procedure. But then I asked the usual question. "Are you safe right now?" A pause. Too clean. Then, "He hasn't noticed me yet." That made my fingers stop for half a second. Not fear, just timing. Something about the way he said yet. Like the ending wasn't uncertain. Just delayed. I sent a unit. Case closed in system. Normal night, or so I thought, because the next night, 2:13 a.m., same crack on the radio, same voice. Dispatch, I need to report something. I remember leaning forward this time. Something inside me already knew. Go ahead, I said. This time, he said, there's a fire in the apartment building across the street. I frowned. That's a serious claim. Can you confirm? Yes, he interrupted gently. Third floor, Unit 304. No hesitation. No checking. Like he was watching it happen in real time. I dispatched fire response. Units arrived. No fire. Nothing. But the building supervisor later reported a burned electrical socket in Unit 304. Small detail, but real. That's when I started paying attention, because that wasn't coincidence anymore. That was precision. Third night, 2:13 a.m. Same voice. Dispatch, I need to report something. I didn't even sit back this time. I stayed forward. Go ahead. This time it's a car accident. I pulled up the road feed instantly. No alerts. No reports. Where? I asked. A pause. Then, main highway. Exit 9. Black sedan. It hasn't hit the barrier yet. That line hit differently. Hasn't hit yet. Like he was calling from the future. I felt my stomach tighten. I still sent patrol. And exactly 18 minutes later, accident report came in. Black sedan. Exit 9. Barrier impact. Same details. Exactly. I didn't sleep after that, because patterns are one thing, but predictions are something else entirely. Fourth night. Same time. Same voice. But this time, I didn't wait for him. Before you say anything, I said quickly, "How are you predicting this?" Silence. Longer than usual. Then, "I'm not predicting it." That made me pause. What do you mean? A soft breath, like he was smiling. I'm reporting it after it happens. I blinked. That doesn't make sense. And then he said something I still remember too clearly. From my side, it already did. And the line went dead, just like that. No closure, no explanation. But my screen still showed the call as active for 6 more seconds, even after silence, even after disconnection, like the system didn't believe it ended either. And that was the first time I checked the caller ID. It was blank, no number, no trace route, nothing, just unknown voice active. After that, I tried everything to trace him, everything, but every call came the same way. No number, no IP, no origin point, just a voice appearing in the system like it had always been there, waiting. 2:13 a.m., always 2:13, never early, never late, like time itself was obeying him. One night, I pushed harder. "Where are you calling from?" I asked immediately when he came on. A pause. Then, "Same place as always." That answer should have annoyed me. Instead, it made me colder, which is, I pressed. Another pause. Longer. Then, "You don't have a map for it." I looked at the screen. Maps are everything in dispatch. Every call, every location, every response. If it exists, we can find it. So I tried. I zoomed in, checked coordinates from previous calls. Fire report, accident, break-in, every single one. The system accepted the locations. But when I cross-checked them manually, they didn't exist. Not missing, not outdated, just not real. One address was supposed to be a warehouse district, but when I checked satellite view, there was nothing, just empty land. No roads, no buildings, just grass and shadow. Another location was a residential street, but the entire street didn't appear on any map layer. Not Google, not internal police GIS, not even archive city records. It was like someone had drawn places and then erased them from reality, but the calls still matched them perfectly. That's when I started building a private log, outside the system, old school notebook, because I didn't trust digital records anymore. Every night, 2:13 a.m. call, unknown voice, perfectly detailed incident, and every location, untraceable. On the 7th night, I asked him something different. "What do you see when you call me?" A pause. Then, I see your light. That made me look around instinctively. The dispatch room was normal. Flickering fluorescent lights. Coffee stains. Old monitors humming. But his next words didn't match anything normal. You sit under it. Every night. I froze. How would you know that? Soft voice. Almost gentle. Because I'm looking at you while I speak. My chair creaked slightly as I leaned back. That's impossible, I said. No, he replied. You just don't know where I am standing. And then, static, not loud, just a small shift in the radio. Like something moved closer to the microphone. Too close. I ended the call early that night, but the system didn't log it as ended. It logged it as ongoing, even though the line was dead. The first time I noticed a delay, I thought it was just paperwork lag, but it wasn't. It was reality lagging behind him. A call would come in at 2:13 a.m. Incident reported. Units dispatched immediately. Everything standard. But then, something strange started happening. The response times didn't match the urgency. They were delayed. Not on our end. On the world's end. Let me explain. One night, he reported a stabbing at a bus stop. We dispatched instantly. But when officers arrived, they found nothing. No victim. No blood. Just an empty bench. Case marked unresolved. Closed. But 6 hours later, a hospital report came in. Same victim. Same injury. Same timestamp as the call. But the injury had already happened hours earlier, before officers even arrived. That made no sense. So I checked everything. And I found more. A burglary call. We responded. Nothing. But the next morning, the homeowner reported missing items. Stolen at the exact minute the call came in. Not when we arrived. When we were notified. That's when I realized it. We weren't responding to events. We were arriving after he already knew they happened. Not before. Not during. After. But still somehow useful. And then came the worst one. 2:13 a.m. Dispatch. I need to report something. His voice sounded slightly different that night. Tired. Or maybe closer. What is it? I asked. A man is going to die tonight. My stomach dropped. No confirmed incident? No, he said calmly. But it will happen at 3:04 a.m. I froze. That's not how we work. I said, I know, he replied. Then added, that's how time works here. We still dispatch patrol to the area. He mentioned they stayed alert. Waited. Nothing happened. 3:04 a.m. passed. No death. No emergency. We marked it false. But at 3:17 a.m., a call came from the hospital. Patient brought in dead. Time of death? 3:04 a.m. Same location. Same person. Exactly as he said. That's when I stopped calling him a caller. Because callers don't know outcomes. Only someone watching the timeline from outside would. After that night, I didn't wait for 2:13 anymore. I started preparing for it. Every shift. Same routine. Logs open. Radio monitored. Units on standby. But nothing ever prepared me for what came next. Because on the 12th night, he spoke before I even answered. Don't send Officer Malik tonight. I froze. My fingers stopped moving. Excuse me, I said, a calm breath. He won't come back if you do. I looked at my screen instantly. Officer Malik was scheduled for patrol rotation that night. How do you know that name? I asked. Silence. Then, because I know what happens when he takes Route 4. My heart started beating harder. Route 4 was standard. Nothing special. Nothing has happened on that route, I said. Not yet, he replied. And that word again. Yet. Then he said something that broke the pattern completely. I've spoken to you before. I frowned. No, you haven't. Soft pause. Then, you just don't remember the first time. My hands went cold. What are you talking about? And then he did something he had never done before. He described me. Not the room. Not the system. Me. You sit closer to the left monitor. When you're nervous, you tap your pen twice before you speak. You always check logs after 2:30 a.m. even when nothing happens. I stopped breathing for a second because all of it was true. Every detail. But I had never told anyone that. Then he added quietly, "And you always answer me a little slower every night." My mouth went dry. "Why me?" I asked. A long pause. Then, "Because you're the only one who kept listening long enough." The radio clicked softly, like something shifting. Then he said the final thing. "And I still don't know how to explain it. You will try to stop this tomorrow." My chest tightened. "And I will already know how you try." Silence. Heavy. Then, "And I will already be waiting for it." The line disconnected. But this time, my screen didn't go back to idle. It showed something new. A log entry. Created automatically. Timestamp. 2:13 a.m. tomorrow. And under it, one line. Call already received. It didn't start as a voice. It started as breathing inside static. I noticed it at 2:47 a.m. At first, it was just the usual radio noise, soft crackling, like rain hitting glass far away. Nothing unusual for night shift. Radios always sound a little tired after midnight. But then, I heard something underneath it. A rhythm. In and out, like someone was breathing through the static itself. I frowned and leaned closer to the console. Dispatch to Unit 402, status check. No response. Just static. But the static shifted. It wasn't random anymore. It had pattern. A slow inhale. A pause. A slow exhale. I pulled my headset off for a second, thinking maybe it was my equipment. The room was silent without it. Too silent. Even the air felt still. Then I put it back on, and the breathing was still there. My stomach tightened slightly, but I told myself it was interference. Old building, old systems. Happens sometimes. I opened the channel logs. Everything looked normal. No flag signals. No cross-channel noise. But the static kept breathing. I tapped the mic. "Anyone on channel 4 confirm audio check." A burst of static answered immediately. Then it stopped, just like that. Clean silence. I exhaled slowly. "Probably just a glitch," I muttered, but then the silence changed. Not back to static, back to something else. A faint whisper underneath the radio. Not clear enough to understand, but human enough to feel wrong. I leaned in again. My finger hovered over the volume knob, and that's when I heard it clearly for the first time. Not one voice. Multiple. Stacked. Distant. Like they were all speaking at once from different rooms. I froze. "Dispatch to all units. Repeat status," I said, voice tighter now. No response. But the whispers shifted. Like they heard me. Like they turned toward me. I pulled up the frequency scanner. Everything was clean. No external feed. No unauthorized signal. Just our channel. And yet, it wasn't ours anymore. The breathing came back. Closer this time. Right under my words. I swallowed hard. "Channel reset," I said quickly. I switched frequencies. Channel 1. Clear. Channel 2. Clear. Channel 3. Clear. But every time I switched back to Channel 4, the breathing was waiting. Like it never left. Like it was only waiting for me to return. I sat back for a moment, tried to steady myself. Then I noticed something small. The waveform display on my monitor. It wasn't random noise anymore. It had shape, like a chest rising and falling. I stared at it longer than I should have, because the rhythm wasn't matching any known transmission pattern. It was alive. I rubbed my eyes once, looked again. Same pattern. Slow inhale, pause, slow exhale, and then, for half a second, it paused mid-breath, like it noticed me noticing it. My throat went dry. I whispered, "Were you?" The radio answered instantly, not with voice, with silence, but the silence felt intentional, like something holding itself back, waiting. Then the breathing returned, but now it wasn't alone. There was something else layered beneath it, a faint metallic echo, like someone dragging something across concrete far away. Slow, irregular, uncertain. My chair creaked as I leaned back instinctively. The room suddenly felt bigger, too empty. I checked the hallway camera. Empty. Checked the dispatch floor. Empty. But the radio was not empty. The static thickened, not louder, heavier, like pressure building inside the speaker. I lowered my voice. If anyone is transmitting, identify yourself. A pause. Then the breathing changed. It stopped for half a second, and a voice slipped through. Barely audible. Don't. Then static swallowed it again. My pulse jumped. I leaned forward immediately. Repeat last transmission. Nothing. Only static. But now it wasn't breathing anymore. It was listening. I could feel it, like something had shifted from speaking to paying attention. The waveform on my screen tightened. Smoother now. Focused, like an eye narrowing. I slowly reached for the channel controls. But before I could switch, the radio clicked. Once. Clean. Sharp. And a new sound came through. Not breathing. Not static. A heartbeat. Slow. Distant. Real. My hand froze midair. Because I knew radios don't carry heartbeats. But this one did. And it was getting closer. It started as fragments. That's what I told myself at first. Just broken audio. Just interference. But fragments don't sound like people screaming your name. I was monitoring Channel 4 again when it happened. The static returned, but different this time. Layered. Messy. Like multiple signals overlapping and fighting for space. Then a voice broke through. Sharp. Panicked. Repeat. I need backup at. Cut off. Then another. Different tone. Officer down, he's still moving. Static swallowed it halfway. I sat up instantly. Dispatch to all units. Confirm emergency traffic, I said. No response. But the interference got worse. Not louder. More structured. Like it was trying to form sentences, but couldn't hold them together. Then I heard it. Clear for 1 second. Why didn't you send help? My fingers stopped. That wasn't radio protocol. That wasn't dispatch language. That was accusation. I leaned closer to the speaker. Identify yourself, I said firmly. The reply came instantly. Not one voice. Many. Overlapping. We called. My stomach tightened. I checked incident logs. Nothing matched. No active emergencies on that frequency. No pending units. Nothing. But the radio disagreed. Because now I could hear movement inside it. Footsteps. Fast. Uncontrolled. Then a voice again. Closer. Dispatch, we're still here. My throat went dry. I whispered. Where? Static surged violently. Then a burst of sound. A man screaming. Cut off mid-breath. Followed by silence so sudden it hurt. I stood up without realizing it. Walked closer to the console. The waveform display had changed again. Now it wasn't breathing. It was running. Erratic spikes. Like panic. Like someone trying to escape a signal. I pressed the mic again. Repeat location. A pause. Then, don't close the channel. That wasn't response. That was fear. My heart started beating harder. I switched frequencies again. Channel 5. Clear. Channel 6. Clear. But Channel 4 was still active underneath everything. Like it refused to disconnect. Like it was anchored to the system itself. Then the voices returned. Stronger. More organized. Unit 19 requesting immediate backup. Shots fired. Repeat. Shots fired. We are pinned. Dispatched. You copy? Each line overlapping. Each one incomplete. But all of them real. Too real. I pulled up archived incidents fast. Checked timestamps. Nothing matched. No record. No logs. No reports. But I could still hear them. And now I noticed something worse. They weren't random anymore. They were repeating. The same phrases. The same calls. Looping. Like a recording stuck between moments. I leaned back slowly. This is impossible. I whispered. And then the radio answered. Quietly. Close. It already happened. My breath stopped. I looked at the speaker. No, I said, if it happened, it would be in the system. A pause. Then, it wasn't recorded where you are. That sentence didn't make sense. But it felt true anyway. The static shifted again. And suddenly, one voice broke through clean. A young officer. Breathing hard. Dispatch, we are still waiting. My chest tightened. Waiting for what? I asked. Silence. Then, for you to answer the first call. My fingers went cold. First call? I checked the logs immediately. The earliest timestamp in Channel 4 history. Nothing abnormal. But then I saw something I hadn't noticed before. A hidden entry. Not created. Not deleted. Just unindexed. Timestamp. Unknown. Labeled. Response pending. My screen flickered slightly as I opened it. And the moment I did, the radio stopped all static. Completely. Dead silence. Then the voice came through clearly. No distortion. No interference. Just one sentence. Why didn't you come? And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was listening to a call. I felt like I was inside it. After that question, everything changed. The system stopped behaving like a system. It started behaving like a memory. Channel 4 didn't go silent again. It stayed open. Always. Even when I muted it. Even when I switched devices. Even when I unplugged the console headset. The voices continued anyway. Not through the radio. Through the room. At first, it was subtle. A whisper near the vent. A fragment behind the monitor. Then it became clearer. Dispatch, we're still here. I turned off every system I could. No change. The voices stayed. Not louder. Just closer. Like they were learning the shape of the room. I checked the transmission source logs. There should have been a location. A tower. A frequency origin. Anything. But the field read. Unknown. Not missing. Not corrupted. Just undefined. I stared at it too long. Then the radio, still unplugged, clicked. And a new voice spoke. Not broken. Not layered. Just one. Calm. Focused. Do you hear us now? My throat tightened. Yes, I said quietly. A pause. Then, good. That word shouldn't have felt heavy. But it did. I stepped back slowly. This is not a live channel. I said. There is no transmission source. A soft reply came instantly. We know. My pulse jumped. Then what are you? I asked. Silence. Then, the ones you stopped listening to. My stomach dropped slightly. I looked at the screen again. The archive fragments. The broken calls. The interference screams. All of it suddenly felt different. Not random. Not noise. But continuity. Like something ongoing that I had only been hearing pieces of. The room lights flickered once. Then the voices changed tone. Less chaotic now. More directed. You marked us as unresolved. I shook my head. I didn't. You did, they interrupted softly. Not angry. Just certain. And then came the worst part. They started describing things I had never logged. Calls I had never seen. Incidents I had never been assigned. But they described them perfectly. Dates. Times. Details. Even my responses. Or lack of them. My breathing got shallow. This isn't real. I whispered. A pause. Then why are you still hearing us? That question hit harder than anything else. Because I didn't have an answer. The radio static returned briefly. But now it wasn't broken. It was forming words. Slowly. Carefully. Like something learning to speak again. We are not new, the voice said. We are delayed. I froze. Delayed from what? I asked. A long silence. Then, from being answered, my hands tightened on the desk, and for the first time, I understood the pattern. The voices weren't coming in. They were catching up, and I was the one who had been listening too late. The radio clicked softly again. Final message. Clear. Close. Dispatch. Why did you leave us a noise? The lights dimmed slightly, and in that moment, I realized the channel was never broken. It was just waiting for me to realize it had been open the entire time. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at the supervisor desk. Perfect posture, no movement, no sound, just watching the monitors like he had been there all night, maybe longer. But I checked the schedule. There was no supervisor assigned to this shift. I remember stopping at the doorway for a second. Something about the room felt off. Not broken, just occupied in a way it shouldn't be. I walked in slowly. The air felt warmer near his desk. Strange detail, but I noticed it. Every other station was empty. Night shift silence. Normal, but his desk felt awake. He didn't look at me right away, just spoke. "You're late." His voice was calm. Too calm, like he already knew I would come. I frowned slightly. I didn't know there was a supervisor tonight. I said. That's when he finally turned his head. Slowly, not dramatic, not threatening, just certain. "There is always a supervisor," he said. I forced a small nod and sat at my station, but something inside me didn't settle, because I checked again. The roster screen showed empty supervision for the night, completely blank. Yet there he was, alive in the room, breathing, real. I glanced at him again. He wasn't doing anything unusual, just watching, but not the screens. Me, I looked away first. That bothered me more than I wanted to admit. The first call came in around 1:18 a.m. Domestic disturbance. Routine. I started processing it automatically, but before I could assign a unit, his voice came from behind me. "Send Unit 214. Second floor. Rear entry." I paused. That wasn't on my screen. I haven't finished verifying. I started. "Send them," he said quietly. No pressure, no force, just certainty. So I did, and 20 minutes later, the report came back exactly as he said. Second floor, rear entry, no resistance, clean resolution. I stared at the screen longer than I should have, then looked back at him. He was already back to watching the monitors. Like nothing happened, like it was normal, but it wasn't. Night shift doesn't work like that. Not this clean, not this precise. Another call came in. Traffic incident. Before I could even open it, he spoke again. Intersection 6. 2 vehicles. No injuries. Delay traffic control for 6 minutes. I hesitated. "You haven't seen the report," I said. "I don't need to," he replied. That answer should have annoyed me. Instead, it made me uneasy. I still followed his instruction. And again, it matched perfectly. Exactly. Down to the minute. I started checking him more often after that. Every call, every response. He was always one step ahead. Not guessing, not predicting, already knowing. At some point around 2:40 a.m., I stopped trusting my screen more than his voice. That realization hit me slowly, and I didn't like how natural it felt. I finally asked him something directly. "Who are you?" He didn't answer immediately, just leaned back slightly in his chair, like the question was familiar. Then, "I'm the one who makes sure the night doesn't fall apart." I frowned. That's not an answer. A faint pause. Then, "It is here." Something about the way he said "here" made my skin tighten. Like here didn't mean the building. It meant something smaller, something closed. The radio crackled at that moment. A unit calling for confirmation. I turned to respond, but he spoke first again. "Don't answer that yet." I froze. "Why?" "Because they're not where they think they are." I looked at the screen. Unit requesting backup. Location clear. Everything normal. But when I looked back at him, he wasn't looking at me anymore. He was looking at the map, and his expression had changed slightly. Not fear, not surprise, recognition. That's when I realized something worse. He wasn't reacting to calls. He was anticipating them, like he had already seen the outcome, before the call even finished forming. And I hadn't noticed until now. After that night, I started watching him more carefully, not just listening, observing. Every time a call came in, I checked his reaction first. And every time, he reacted before the system even fully loaded the details. It shouldn't have been possible, but it kept happening. 2:11 a.m., burglary alert. Before I touched the keyboard, he said, "Send Unit 118. They won't catch him, but they'll find the broken window." I frowned. That's not how we proceed. I said. He didn't look at me this time. "Just send them." I hesitated, then did it. 30 minutes later, report came back. No suspect, but broken window. Exactly as described. That's when I started testing him. Small things at first. Calls I could verify. Calls I could control. And every single time, he was right, but not in a normal way. It wasn't like he was reading patterns. It felt like he was reading endings. One night, I deliberately delayed dispatch. Didn't send a unit immediately. I wanted to see what would happen. He noticed. Of course he did. "You're waiting," he said quietly. "Yes," I replied. "I want confirmation." He finally turned toward me, and for the first time, his expression wasn't calm. It was tired. "You think delaying changes it?" I didn't answer. He leaned forward slightly. "It doesn't." Then he added something worse. "It only makes it arrive without you." That line stuck in my head, because it didn't sound like warning. It sounded like experience. I still waited. 10 minutes. 15. Then I sent the unit. And when they arrived, the scene was already resolved. No suspect. No victim in danger. Just aftermath. Like something had happened before we even decided to act. I started feeling like we weren't responding to emergencies anymore. We were just arriving late to conclusions. That night, I confronted him again. "This isn't protocol," I said. He nodded slightly. "I know." "Then why are you doing it?" A pause. Then, "Because protocol assumes time moves forward." I frowned. "What does that mean?" He looked at the monitor again, not me, and said, "Tonight it doesn't." That was the first time I felt truly unsettled, not scared, just displaced, like I was in the wrong version of my shift. After that, I started noticing smaller things. His coffee never cooled. His pen never moved from the same position. And I never saw him check the clock. Not once. Even when I did, it was like time didn't require his attention. Then came the call that broke everything slightly. A high-priority incident. Multiple units needed. Chaos on screen. I reacted instantly. But before I could even assign resources, he said, "Hold." I snapped. "This is active." He finally looked at me and said something I didn't expect. "You're reacting to noise." Then he pointed at the screen and calmly said, "Watch what actually matters." I hesitated, but I did, and slowly, the chaos started resolving itself. One unit report updated, then another, without dispatch changes, without new orders. It was like the situation was correcting itself, and he was just watching it settle, like it was already written. When it ended, I finally asked him the question I've been avoiding. "How do you know all this?" He didn't answer immediately. Then, "Because I've seen this shift before." I frowned. "That's impossible." He nodded. "Yes." Then he said, "But it still happens." And that was the first time I realized he wasn't guiding the shift. He was remembering it. I didn't believe it at first, but I checked anyway, because doubt only lasts until data removes it. I searched his name in personnel records. Nothing. No supervisor match. No active file. No ID entry. I widened the search. Still nothing. Then I checked archive staff logs. Old records. Retired personnel. Transferred supervisors. And that's when I saw it. A file. Barely indexed. Almost hidden. His name appeared once. Supervisor assignment. Status. Deceased. I stared at the screen for a long time, then refreshed it. It stayed. I opened the file, and everything inside it felt wrong. Not just outdated. Incomplete, like parts of it had been removed while I was reading. There was a photo, blurry, but it was him. Same face, same posture. Only difference, the timestamp. 5 years ago. My throat tightened. I turned slowly toward his desk. He was still there, alive, watching the monitor, like nothing had changed, like death was just another scheduled conflict. I walked closer. "Your file says you're dead," I said quietly. He didn't react immediately. Then, "I know." That calm answer made my stomach drop. I held up the screen. "Explain this." He looked at it briefly, then back at me, and said, "They updated it after I stayed." I frowned. Stayed where? He didn't answer that. Instead, he said something worse. "You think people leave this shift when they're done." I felt a chill spread through me. "They don't." I asked. A pause. Then, "Some shifts don't end. They overwrite." I stepped back slightly. "That's not possible." He nodded. I said the same thing. Silence filled the room after that. Heavy, Pressing. The kind of silence that feels like something is listening through it. I checked the clock. 3:12 a.m. Same as always. Or at least it felt like always. Then I noticed something. The system logs were looping. Same entries. Same timestamps. Repeated. Not copied. Rewritten. I looked back at him. Who are you, really? He finally stood up, slowly, and for the first time, he didn't feel like a supervisor. He felt like part of the building. I used to be you, he said. That made me stop breathing for a second. What? He walked slightly closer. Before I understood the pattern, I shook my head. That doesn't make sense. He nodded again. It doesn't until it happens to you. Then he added softly, and then it's already too late to explain it. After that conversation, everything changed. Not immediately. Slowly. Subtly. At first, it was just prediction. Then it became certainty. Every call I saw, he saw first. Every incident, he already knew the ending. And then something worse started happening. He started speaking before the calls arrived. Not guesses. Not estimates. Exact details. 2:09 a.m. Before the system even chimed, he said, "Structure fire. East warehouse. One trapped inside." Then the call came in. Exactly that. I stopped pretending it was coincidence. Because it wasn't. One night, I tested him directly. I stayed silent. Didn't react to anything. Didn't acknowledge him. Just watched. Waiting. And at 2:13 a.m., he spoke without looking at the screen. Car accident. Highway 8. Red truck. No survivors. Then the radio rang. Exact match. I turned to him slowly. "You're doing this," I said. He shook his head. "No." "Then how?" A pause. Then, "I'm remembering it before it happens." That line hit differently this time, because I realized he wasn't predicting the future. He was recalling it, like it already existed somewhere in him, like it already happened, and he was just replaying it in real time. Then he said something that made my hands go cold. "You're starting to match me." "What does that mean?" I asked quickly. He looked at me, and for the first time, there was something like concern. "It means you're noticing the pattern too clearly." Before I could respond, the system chimed again. But I didn't look at it, because I already knew what it would say, and I didn't want to confirm it. But I did anyway, and it was exactly what he said. Again, I stepped back slowly. "This isn't normal." I whispered. He nodded. "It never was." Then he added softly, "You're just late to it." And that's when I realized I wasn't learning from him anymore. I was becoming him. I tried to leave early. That was my mistake. Because the building didn't let me. Not physically. Just quietly. Doors that should have opened didn't. Logs that should have closed stayed active. And the clock stopped moving forward. 3:17 a.m. Frozen. Always 3:17. He noticed me trying to shut down the console and said only one thing. "You're not done yet." I turned toward him. "I am done," I said. He shook his head. "You're just between calls." That sentence made my stomach drop, because I hadn't heard a call in minutes. But the system still showed active incidents. Unresolved. Always unresolved. I tried logging out. Denied. Tried manual override. Denied. Every exit path gone. And then I realized something worse. He wasn't stopping me. The system was. I turned slowly toward him. "You said this shift doesn't end." I said quietly. He nodded. "It doesn't." "Then how do I leave?" A long pause. Then, "You don't." My breathing got heavier. "You did," I said. He looked at me for a long time, then said something I'll never forget. I didn't leave. I just stopped being new. That made the room feel smaller, tighter, like reality was compressing. The radio crackled suddenly, but no call came, just static. Then his voice inside it. "You hear it now, don't you?" I didn't answer, because I did. Not just calls. The structure underneath them, the repetition, the loop, the shift that never fully resets. I looked at the monitors. Same incidents, same timestamps, different nights. Or maybe the same night repeated. I don't know anymore. He stood beside me now, no longer separate. Not supervisor, not staff, just part of the room. "You'll understand soon," he said. "Understand what?" I asked. He looked at the screen and said, "That you were never replacing me." A pause. Then, "You were continuing me." The lights flickered once, and for a moment, I saw another version of the room. Empty. No me, only him. Sitting alone, watching screens, waiting for someone else to arrive. Then it snapped back. I gasped slightly. He was still there, but now he wasn't alone anymore, because I could hear it too. The calls, coming in again, 2:13 a.m., always 2:13, and his voice slightly overlapping mine now. "Dispatch." We both said it at the same time, and I finally understood the worst part. The shift never ended. It just taught the next person how to continue it. It started with a call that was already solved. At least, that's what the system said. 2:08 a.m., routine night shift, quiet room, dim lights, normal radio static. Then the screen blinked. "Emergency incoming." Residential disturbance. I sighed and reached for keyboard, but something stopped me because I had seen this case before. Yesterday, I remembered it clearly. Same address, same file number, same outcome. Resolved, closed. But now it was back. I opened the log. It confirmed what I already knew. Case status closed. I frowned. System error? I muttered. Then I checked again, refreshed, and the status changed, just for a second, from closed to active. My hand froze over the mouse. That shouldn't happen. Closed cases don't reopen like that, not without a new report. I leaned closer. The timestamp was identical to yesterday. Exact same minute, exact same second, but the caller ID was blank. No number, no device trace, just unknown source. I whispered, "This is not possible," and then the radio cracked. "Dispatch." A voice came through, calm, familiar. My stomach dropped slightly because I recognized it. It was the same voice from yesterday. The caller, but that shouldn't exist, because yesterday I had marked him as resolved. "Go ahead," I said slowly. A pause. Then, "It's happening again." I sat up straighter. "What is happening again?" Silence. Then the same voice continued. "They came back." My fingers went cold. I checked the file again. Residential disturbance. Yesterday's report said officers cleared the scene. No threats. No injuries. No follow-up required. Closed. But now, it was talking like it never ended. I pulled up dispatch history, scrolled down, and saw it. The same call. Logged twice. Same timestamp. Same outcome. But one difference. The second entry wasn't marked closed. It was marked pending. My breath slowed. I didn't understand what I was seeing. Two versions of the same night, existing side by side. I whispered into the mic. "Who is this?" A soft inhale came through the radio. Then, "You already know me." I looked at the screen again. And I did. That's what scared me most. Because I remembered clearing this house. I remembered speaking to the caller. I remembered closing the file. So why was he calling again? From the same moment? The radio cracked again. "Dispatch," they didn't leave. My throat tightened. Who didn't leave? No answer. Just faint movement in the audio, like footsteps inside a house. But slow, dragging, as if time itself was stuck behind them. Then the voice returned. Quieter now. They are still here. My cursor hovered over the file. My instinct said close it, but I didn't. I clicked replay logs, and the audio started. My own voice. From yesterday. I confirm all units clear the scene. I froze. That was me, but I didn't remember saying it that calmly. I kept listening. Then another voice. The caller. "Are we safe now?" And I remembered answering. "Yes, you are safe." The audio ended, but something was wrong, because the current call was still active, even though the event had already been closed. My screen flickered slightly, then updated on its own. Case reopened, no action taken. I leaned back slowly. This shouldn't exist, I whispered again, and the radio answered instantly. It always existed. After that night, I started digging deeper, too deep. I pulled every closed case in the past week, and I found something impossible. They weren't closed. They were looping, every single one. Same incidents, same timestamps, different status. Open, closed, like the system couldn't decide what was real. I called IT. No answer. Of course. Night shift. But something inside me said, don't wait. So I checked manually. One case stood out. A missing person report. Filed 3 days ago. Marked resolved yesterday. Now reopened again. I opened it and felt my chest tighten immediately because I remembered this one. A boy, teenager, reported missing near a bus stop. We had sent patrol. They found nothing. Case closed. But now, the file showed new updates, added after closure. Photos, notes, statements, none of which existed yesterday. I stared at the screen. This is edited. I said out loud, but then I noticed something worse. The edits had timestamps from after the case was already closed. I leaned closer. No system should allow that. Not without manual override. Not without trace logs. But there were none, like the system itself had rewritten history. Then the radio crackled again. A different voice this time. Young. Panicked. Dispatch. I'm still here. My fingers stopped. That wasn't the file. That wasn't in any recording. I checked live feed. The location was the same bus stop, but empty. No movement. No person. Just streetlight flicker. Then the voice came again. Closer. I never left. I swallowed hard. Identify yourself, I said. A pause. Then, I am the case you closed. My blood went cold. I pulled up dispatch logs immediately. Every system entry, every closure code, every officer report, and something didn't match. Because all of them had one missing line. Final confirmation. The moment a case truly ends, it was gone, not deleted, never recorded, like closure itself didn't exist anymore. I felt a strange pressure in my chest, like the room was becoming smaller. Then the radio spoke again. Why did you stop looking for me? My voice came out quieter than I expected. I didn't stop. The case was resolved. Silence. Then, no one found me. My hands trembled slightly. I checked officer reports again. They all said the same thing. No sign of victim. No evidence. Case closed. But now, the voice didn't agree. I am still at the bus stop. I turned to the live map. Zoomed in. The location blinked softly. Active call. No unit assigned. But something else appeared. A second marker. Hidden. Unlabeled. Sitting at the exact same point. But older. Like a ghost record. I stared at it. What is that? I whispered. The radio answered. That is where you left me. My throat tightened. I looked at the hallway camera feed. Empty. But the audio wasn't empty. Footsteps returned. Soft. Repeating. Like someone pacing in place. Then the voice changed tone. Less panicked. More aware. You close files too quickly. I shook my head. That's protocol. A pause. Then, protocol does not erase people. My stomach dropped slightly, because I realized something. These weren't reopened cases. They were unfinished ones. That never actually ended. They just stopped being noticed. And now, they were noticing back. The first time I realized they were calling live, I almost dropped my headset. It came in at 2:13 a.m. Of course it did. Same time again. But this time, it wasn't reopened file. It was new. Or at least, it looked new. Emergency alert. But when I opened it, I recognized it immediately. The bus stop case. The missing boy. But it was labeled active. Not historical. Not archived. Active. I froze. That's impossible. I said out loud, because this case had been closed days ago. I stared at the screen. And then the radio crackled. But no dispatcher spoke first this time. The voice came immediately. Soft. Close. I'm still waiting. My breath caught. Where are you? I asked. A pause. Then, at the same place. I looked at the map again. Bus stop blinking. But now it was brighter. More urgent. Like it had been waiting longer than it should have. I swallowed. Units are being dispatched. I said quickly, but there were no units assigned. I tried again. System lagged. Then returned. No available units. My stomach tightened. That never happens. Never. The voice came again. I waited yesterday too. My fingers stopped. Yesterday. That word hit differently now. Because this wasn't a reopened case. It was continuous. I leaned closer. Tell me what happened, I said. A long pause. Then, they came late. My throat went dry. Who came late? Silence. Then, everyone. The radio started crackling again. But this time it wasn't static. It was memory. Fragments. Footsteps. Sirens. Voices shouting. But delayed. Like audio played after the moment had already ended. I checked the timeline and saw something I didn't understand. The call had been active for 38 hours. Continuously. Without closing. Without interruption. Just waiting. My hand shook slightly. This is not real time. I whispered, and the voice replied immediately. It never was. I leaned back. The room suddenly felt unstable, like it was shifting slightly out of alignment. Then I heard something outside the radio, not through speakers. Through the hallway, a faint voice, calling my name. I froze, because that wasn't in the system. The radio voice spoke again. You hear us now. I didn't answer, because I did. Not just one call, multiple, from different cases, different nights, all overlapping now, all active, all unresolved. The system screen flickered violently, then updated. Every closed case, switched to active at once. My breath caught sharply. No, I whispered, but the radio responded instantly. Yes, and then, softly, almost sadly, we are still waiting. The lights in the dispatch room dimmed, and I finally understood the truth I had been avoiding. These weren't old calls returning. They were calls that never left, and I had been answering them years too late. The radio clicked one last time, and the boy's voice returned, closer than before. Are you coming this time? And for the first time, I didn't know if I was supposed to say yes, or if I already had. The line was already open when I picked up the headset. No ring. No alert, just silence that wasn't empty. I checked the screen. Channel status. Active call, unknown source. My fingers paused over the controls. That shouldn't happen. Every active line has a caller ID or unit tag. This one had nothing, just an open channel, breathing quietly through static. I leaned closer. Dispatch center, identify yourself, I said. No response. But the line didn't disconnect. It stayed open, like something was waiting. I adjusted the volume slightly. At first, I thought it was just interference. Soft crackling, normal night noise. But then I noticed something inside it. Not random sound. Rhythm. Slow. Unnatural. Like something moving in and out of range. I frowned. Anyone on Channel 6 respond? I said again. Still nothing. But the static shifted. It wasn't louder. It was structured, like it was forming space between sounds. Then I heard it, very faint, a chair creaking. I froze slightly. That's not radio noise. That's physical space. I sat up straighter. Unit checked. I said firmly, no response. But now the background changed. Not static anymore. Ambient noise. A room. Distant. Too distant to identify clearly. But real enough to make my skin tighten. Then something new came through. A breath. Close. Very close. I instinctively pulled the headset back for half a second. Silence hit my ears. The room felt normal again. But when I put it back on, it was still there, like it followed. I leaned forward slowly. Repeat transmission, I said. No answer. But now the breathing became clearer. Controlled. Intentional. Like someone was trying not to be heard, but failing. I checked the system logs. No active units. No open field calls. Nothing. Just this line. Still open. Still alive. I tapped the mic again. Dispatch to unknown caller. State emergency. A pause. Longer this time. Then a faint voice slipped through. Not loud, not clear, but human. You're late. I froze. My hand tightened slightly on the desk. Repeat that, I said. Nothing. Just the breathing again. But now it felt different. Heavier. Like something had stepped closer to the microphone. I checked the timestamp. No time correlation. No location ping. Nothing. It was like the system didn't know where the voice was coming from, but it knew it was there. I leaned back slightly. This is dispatch. You need to identify yourself. Another pause. Then, I already did. My stomach tightened. That wasn't protocol. That wasn't even logic. I looked at the speaker. State unit or caller ID? I said more firmly. The line stayed silent for a second. Then the background changed. A soft sound, like wind through something narrow, followed by footsteps. Slow, careful, not moving away, moving around something. I stood up slightly without realizing it. The room suddenly felt smaller. The radio wasn't just open anymore. It felt occupied. I glanced at the hallway camera feed. Empty. Everything normal. But the audio wasn't. Now I could hear something dragging faintly. Not loud enough to identify, but enough to imagine distance. Then the voice came again. Closer. Why didn't you answer earlier? I frowned. Answer what? Silence. Then, we called before. My chest tightened slightly. I checked archive logs quickly. No missed calls. No flagged attempts. Nothing. But the voice didn't wait for proof. It continued anyway. You heard us. I shook my head slowly. I didn't receive anything. A pause. Then, that's what you always say. The static shifted again. Now it wasn't random at all. It felt layered, like multiple signals trying to occupy the same space. And underneath it, I started hearing more than one voice. Not clear. Fragments. Overlapping. Still here. Don't close. Dispatch, please. I froze. My fingers hovered over the disconnect button. But something stopped me, because disconnecting didn't feel like closing call anymore. It felt like interrupting something that wasn't finished. I swallowed. Where are you calling from? I asked carefully. A pause. Then, a place you already passed. My throat went dry. That's impossible, I said quietly. And then the voice did something worse. It laughed. Soft. Almost tired. We said that too. The radio crackled suddenly. Sharp, like something shifting position. Then, silence. Complete silence. For a second, I thought it ended, but the line stayed open. Still active. Still watching. And then, a whisper, right at the edge of the audio. Don't hang up. I didn't hang up. I couldn't explain why. Something about that whisper didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a warning from the wrong side of time. I kept the line open and started recording immediately. Standard procedure. But my hand was shaking slightly because I knew something was wrong. Not technically, emotionally, like I was inside something I shouldn't be hearing. The audio file started clean, static, then faint breathing again. But now I was listening differently, carefully, analyzing instead of reacting. And that's when I noticed it. There were gaps in the sound. Not silence, missing moments. Like parts of the recording were never captured. I frowned, replayed it. Same result. Then something new appeared. A voice. Not mine. Not the unknown caller. Another voice layered underneath. Very faint. Almost hidden. We're still waiting. I froze the playback. Rewound. Listen again. There it was. But it wasn't in real time. It was delayed. Like it was recorded from a different moment entirely. I leaned closer to the screen. Where is this coming from? I whispered. The system didn't answer. But the audio did. And now it changed. The breathing stopped. Then a new sound came through. Movement. Close. Inside a room. Then a voice. Clearer this time. Not the same one from earlier. Different tone. Different emotion. Panic. Dispatch. Why didn't you respond? My chest tightened. That wasn't a live call anymore. That sounded like aftermath. I checked metadata. Timestamp showed current time, but audio clearly wasn't current. I sat back slowly. This is impossible, I muttered. Then I played it again. And this time, I heard something I missed before. Background noise. Sirens. Distant shouting. But delayed, like the recording was catching up to itself. I leaned forward, and then it happened. The voice spoke again. But this time, it answered my reaction. You're listening now. I froze completely, because I hadn't pressed anything, hadn't spoken, hadn't triggered anything. It reacted anyway. I whispered into the mic. Who are you? A pause. Then, we are what was left on the line. My throat tightened. I looked at the waveform display and saw something I didn't expect. It wasn't flat. It wasn't random. It was structured, like speech, like memory, like something trying to rebuild itself from fragments. Then I noticed something worse. The waveform wasn't just showing audio. It was showing multiple layers, different times, different moments, all stacked together. I felt my stomach tighten because I realized what I was hearing. Not a call, not even a recording, but multiple calls overlapping into one signal. And somehow, the system was letting me hear all of them at once. Then the audio changed again, and I heard myself, my own voice, from earlier. Dispatch center, identify yourself. I froze. I had said that, but hearing it now felt wrong, like it wasn't meant to be replayed. Then another voice responded. Not mine, not the caller. A third voice. Calm, close. We did. I stood up quickly. This is a playback error. I said out loud, but the system didn't correct it. Instead, the audio continued, and now I could hear something new, a conversation, multiple voices, overlapping responses, different times merging. I already called. We're still here. Why didn't you answer? My breathing slowed without me realizing it, because none of this was structured like a normal recording. It was layered memory. I turned down the volume slightly, and in that moment, I heard something behind the audio. Not in it, behind it, a faint second version of the same call, like something was speaking underneath what I was already hearing. I leaned in closer, and that's when the realization hit me. The audio wasn't playing back. It was syncing to something still happening. I whispered, "This is live," and immediately the system responded, "Not live." A pause, then left open. My hands went cold. I looked at the screen again. The call line was still active, still open, still connected, even though I had been listening to it like a recording. Then the voice returned, not from playback, from the open line, direct, immediate. Now you hear both. And for the first time, I didn't know which part of the sound was past, and which part was still happening right in front of me. It always happens at 3:17. Every time. Not once, not twice. Every single night. It starts at 3:17. I noticed it the first time because the clock on the wall just froze. No flicker. No power issue. Just stopped. 3:17 a.m. I remember leaning forward slightly, thinking it was a coincidence. Then the radio crackled. A routine call, but something fell off before I even touched it, because the room had already gone quiet in a different way. Not normal silence. More like everything was waiting. I answered, "Dispatch." Static. Then a voice came through. Calm. Controlled. Requesting backup at Elm Street. I started typing, but then I noticed something strange. The timestamp on the system said 3:16, 1 minute behind the clock on the wall. I frowned slightly. That's when I realized the clock wasn't just frozen. It was refusing to move forward. I keyed in the response. Unit assigned. ETA 5 minutes. But before I hit send, the clock ticked once. 3:17 again. Same number, same moment, like time had corrected itself. Then the radio crackled again. Same caller, same tone, same message, requesting backup at Elm Street. I froze. I had already answered this. but the system showed no record of it. No sent dispatch. No acknowledgement. Just waiting input. I checked the log history. Empty. I leaned back slowly. This is a glitch, I whispered, but the radio answered immediately. No. I froze completely. The voice continued. You didn't send it last time either. My throat went dry. I checked the screen again. Still nothing recorded. But my memory said otherwise. I remembered sending the unit. I remembered the confirmation. I remembered the case closing. So why was it here again? The clock ticked once more. 3:17. Again. Then the lights flickered slightly. Just once. Enough for me to notice the room felt slightly different, like it had reset. I checked the window. Outside looked the same. Same patrol cars. Same movement. Same night. But something inside me felt wrong. Like I had already lived this exact moment before. The radio crackled again. Same call. Same voice. But this time, it added something new. Don't send them. I frowned. What? A pause. Then, last time you did. My hand stopped. I slowly removed my hand from the keyboard. What happened last time? I asked. Silence. Then, you don't remember? My breathing slowed, because I did remember. But it didn't feel like memory. It felt like confusion trying to organize itself. A crash report flashed in my mind. Sirens. Static. Silence after. But it was blurry. Incomplete. Like something had cut the ending off. The radio spoke again. Clock resets when you send them. I looked up at the wall clock again. Still 3:17. Frozen. Watching. I whispered, "That's impossible." And the voice replied softly, "It happens every time you believe the call." The room went colder. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just stared at the screen, because for the first time, I wasn't sure if I was answering a call or restarting something I didn't understand. I didn't send a unit. Not this time. I waited, hands hovering over the keyboard. The radio stayed silent for exactly 6 seconds. Then it came again. Same voice. Same call. But something had changed. The tone was lower now. More urgent. Requesting backup at Elm Street. I looked at the clock. 3:17. Still frozen. I didn't respond. And then it happened. The system blinked. Once. Then everything went dark. Not power failure dark. System reset dark. For half a second, I felt nothing. No sound. No light. No time. Then it came back. Same room. Same desk. Same radio. But my screen was already filled in. Dispatch sent. Unit assigned. Call marked resolved. I froze. No. I whispered. I hadn't touched anything. But it was done. Already completed. And the clock. 3:17 again. I stood up quickly. This is wrong, I said out loud. The radio crackled softly. And the voice replied. Now you remember. My stomach tightened. What did you do? I asked. A pause. Then, we reset the shift. I turned toward the monitor and saw something that made my breath stop. The call log. It wasn't just repeated. It was layered. Same call. Multiple entries. Each one slightly different. Different outcomes. Different timestamps. But all labeled Elm Street Incident. I leaned closer. One entry showed. Unit arrived safely. No issues. Another, unit never arrived. Another, scene escalated. Multiple casualties. My hands went cold. What is this? I whispered. The radio answered calmly. Possibilities. I shook my head. No, that's not how time works. A soft pause. Then, it is when you restart it. I felt my chest tighten. Restart what? The radio crackled slightly. Then, the night. I stepped back from the desk, because I suddenly realized something worse. The system wasn't just replaying calls. It was replaying outcomes. Like the night itself was being tested, adjusted, edited. I looked at the clock again. 3:17. Always 3:17. Then the radio spoke again. And this time, it sounded almost tired. You keep choosing different answers. My throat tightened. What happens if I don't choose? A pause. Then the night stays frozen. I swallowed. Frozen how? And the voice replied softly, like this. The lights flickered, and for a second, everything stopped. Not paused, not silent. Stopped. Even my breathing felt delayed. Then it all returned again. Same desk, same screen, same call waiting. But now I understood something terrifying. I wasn't just working a shift. I was inside a loop that depended on my decisions. And every time I responded, the night changed or reset. I wasn't sure which one was worse. I tested it. I had to. Next time the call came in, I changed one detail. Just one. Instead of sending Unit 4, I sent Unit 9. Small change. Nothing major. I waited. The radio went silent after dispatch. Longer than before. Then, static, followed by something I didn't expect. Screaming. I stood up immediately. Unit 9 respond. I said into the mic, nothing. Then the system updated. Slowly. Too slowly. Incident escalated. My stomach dropped. That's not possible. I whispered, because Elm Street was supposed to be stable, controlled, safe, but now the screen showed multiple casualties. I backed away slightly. This wasn't like this before. I said, the radio crackled softly, and the voice answered, it is now. I felt my hands tremble. What did I change? A pause. Then, you chose differently. I stared at the screen. The map had changed. New markers appeared. Unknown locations. Unregistered units. Chaos building where there was none before. I swallowed. So, I caused this. Silence. Then, you shifted it. My breathing slowed. Shifted what? The voice replied softly. The outcome. I sat down slowly, because I was starting to understand something I didn't want to accept. Every decision I made didn't fix the call. It rewrote the night, and not always in the right direction. I checked the previous logs. Every variation showed the same pattern. Different response. Different consequences. Some worse. Some unrecognizable. Like the system was exploring versions of reality. Through me, I whispered, why am I doing this? The radio crackled once. Then, because you never stopped the first time. My chest tightened. What first time? A long pause. Then, the one you don't remember correctly. The screen flickered again, and suddenly I saw something new. A hidden log below all the data. One line. Shift repeat count. 183. I froze. No. I whispered. That didn't make sense. I looked again. It was still there. Then 184 appeared, right in front of me, incrementing. Without input, the radio spoke again. You've been here longer than you think. My throat went dry. That's impossible. Then the voice answered softly. So, is forgetting 183 nights. I stood up quickly. This is not real, I said, but even as I said it, something inside me hesitated, because part of me felt like I had said those exact words before. Many times. I stopped trying to fix it after a while, not because I understood it, because I couldn't tell if I was changing anything anymore. Every decision felt familiar. Every outcome felt pre-written. And the clock, 3:17, never moved. One night, I just sat there, watching, waiting, not responding to calls, not touching the system, just observing. And that's when the radio spoke without a call coming in. You're quieter this time. I didn't answer. The voice continued. That's new. I frowned slightly. New. A pause. Then, you usually try to fix it by now. I swallowed. Fix what? Silence. Then, the night. I leaned forward slowly. How long have I been here? A longer pause this time. Then, long enough to stop asking that early. My chest tightened. I looked at the logs again. Now 201. Rising. Without input. Like time wasn't moving forward, but counting something else. I whispered, what happens if I stop responding? The radio answered softly. Then you'll hear yourself from before. I froze. What does that mean? And then it happened. The system opened a playback file on its own. My voice, from earlier shifts. Same room, same words. Dispatch responding. Another version. Send Unit 9. Another. Silence. Confusion. Fear. Different nights layered together. All mine. I stepped back. No, I whispered. The radio spoke again. You stayed too long in one shift. My throat tightened. I didn't stay. A pause. Then, that's what all of you say. I felt my breathing slow. All of who? Silence. Then the clock flickered. For the first time, it moved. 3:18. Then back. 3:17. Like it corrected itself immediately. The radio voice softened. You're not the first dispatcher. My stomach dropped. And I won't be the last. My voice came out barely audible. What am I then? A long pause. Then, the one still answering. The lights dimmed slightly, and I suddenly felt something terrifyingly clear. This wasn't a shift. It wasn't a loop. It was a system that only continued because someone stayed aware inside it, and I had stayed too long. The radio clicked softly one final time, and the voice said, "Next time, don't answer so quickly." Then silence. But the line didn't close, and the clock stayed at 3:17. The silence wasn't normal. It wasn't peaceful. It was wrong. 3:17 a.m. blinked on the clock, like it was stuck staring at me. But this time, nothing came through the radio. No static, no faint breathing, no broken signals. Just nothing. I leaned forward slowly, checked the console. All channels were green, active, ready, but empty. That's what scared me. Because in this job, silence never means peace. It means something is waiting. I tapped the mic once. Dispatch to all units. Status check. No response. I frowned slightly. That's odd, I muttered. I checked again. Still no incoming traffic. No emergency lines. No distress calls. Nothing. It was like the entire city had stopped talking at the same time. I looked at the clock. 3:17. Still frozen. Same exact second as always, but now it felt louder, like the silence was pressing against it. I leaned back in my chair slowly. This is a system drop, I told myself. But even as I said it, I didn't believe it. I opened backup channels. Nothing. Secondary frequency. Nothing. Emergency override. Nothing. Every line was dead, not broken, not static, just absent. Like someone had unplugged the entire world from communication. I stood up, walked toward the window. Outside looked normal. Street lights, empty road, a patrol car parked near the corner. But no movement, no calls, no urgency. Just a frozen night pretending to be alive. Then the radio clicked. Once. I froze immediately. My body reacted before my mind did. I turned slowly, waited. Nothing. Then, another click. I stepped closer. Dispatch, I said carefully. No answer. But the line was no longer silent. Something was there. Not sound. Presence. I felt it before I heard it. Like pressure in the air between static and silence. Then a voice came through. Not loud. Not clear. Just familiar. I'm still here. My chest tightened slightly. Identify yourself, I said quickly. A pause. Then, you already know. I frowned. No, I don't. Silence. Then a soft breath through the speaker. Too close. Too controlled. Like someone holding themselves back from speaking too much. I checked the system logs. Still no incoming calls. But this wasn't showing as a call. It was showing as an open channel. Manually activated. From inside, my stomach tightened. That's impossible, I whispered. The voice replied immediately. You said that before. I stopped. Before what? A pause. Then, before the silence started. My fingers slowly tightened on the edge of the desk, because I realized something strange. I didn't remember activating anything, but my hands were on the console, exactly where they would be if I had. I checked the last input log. Blank. No recorded action. But the system was still open, still listening, still waiting. I leaned closer to Mike. This is dispatch. If you can hear me, give location. Silence. Then, we can hear you. I felt a chill move up my spine, because it didn't sound like one voice anymore. It sounded like more than one. Layered, overlapping, different tones. Same sentence. I backed away slightly. The room suddenly felt smaller, like the silence had taken up space. I checked the wall clock again. 3:17. Still stuck. But now I noticed something else. The second hand wasn't just frozen. It was slightly vibrating, like it was trying to move but couldn't. The radio spoke again. You shouldn't have turned everything off. I frowned. I didn't turn anything off. A pause. Then, you will. My breath slowed. What does that mean? Silence. Then the line shifted again, and I heard something that made my stomach drop. My own voice, but not now. Older, tired, saying, "System offline. No incoming traffic." I froze completely. That wasn't me, or it was just not this moment. I turned back to the console quickly, checked recordings. Nothing saved, but the audio kept going. My voice again. "You're alone now." I stepped back. "No," I whispered, but the voice continued. "You always are at this point." And then, silence again. Not empty. Heavy, like something had just finished speaking and was now waiting for me to respond. I looked at the radio. It wasn't just off. It was empty, like it had never been used before. But I knew that wasn't true, because something was still inside it, waiting for me to notice. And I suddenly realized this silence wasn't the absence of calls. It was the absence of everything else. The first call didn't come in. It went out at 3:17. Always 3:17. But this time, I didn't touch the system. The console lit up on its own. Outbound channel active. My fingers froze above the desk. I didn't send anything. I whispered, but the system didn't care. It already connected. And then I heard it. My voice. Not from a recording. From the line. Say my name. Slow. Careful. Like it had been waiting to be sure I would answer. I leaned forward slightly. "Hello?" Silence for a second. Then, "You finally picked up." My throat tightened. "This is dispatch." I said quickly, "Who is this?" A pause. Then my own voice again. But wrong. Tired. Older. "I'm you." I blinked. "No, that's not possible." The line crackled softly. Then, it already happened. I stood up slightly. "What happened?" Silence. Then a sound came through. Typing. My typing. But not now. Faster. Panicked. Then my voice again. "Send backup. Elm Street." My chest tightened. That memory hit too cleanly. I remembered that call. Or thought I did. But this version felt heavier. More final. I looked at the console. There was no Elm Street active now. But the voice continued. "You didn't send them fast enough." My breathing slowed. Fast enough for what? A pause. Then, for them to come back. I frowned. That doesn't make sense. The line shifted slightly, and I heard something worse. Screaming. Far away, but real, like it was happening inside the audio, not behind it. Then silence again, and my future voice spoke softer. "You'll understand after it repeats." My stomach dropped slightly. "Repeats what?" A pause. Then, the night. I looked at the wall clock. 3:17. Still frozen. But now the second hand was trembling harder, like it was trying to escape the moment. The radio clicked again, and I heard myself speaking again, but this time faster. "Urgent. Do not reset the system." I froze. "What reset?" I said out loud, but the voice continued over me. "If you reset it, we lose them again." My throat went dry. "Lose who?" Silence. Then, all of them. I stepped back. The room felt colder now. Not physically. Emotionally. Like something had removed warmth from the air itself. Then my future voice returned. Quieter. Closer. "You already tried to fix it." I shook my head. "I wouldn't do that." A pause. Then, "You always do." The console flickered. Once. then showed something new. A log entry. Outbound call active. Source. Future timeline. My breath stopped for a second. No, I whispered, but it stayed. The call wasn't incoming. It was me, from ahead, calling back. I leaned in slowly. Why are you calling me? I asked. The voice paused. Then, because you stopped answering yourself. That hit harder than I expected. I frowned. What does that even mean? Silence. Then a softer tone. Almost broken. You'll stop responding to the system. My chest tightened. Why? And then the answer came. Not immediate. Not clean. Just quiet. Because you'll think it's empty. I stood there frozen, looking at the console, at the clock, at the silence still pretending to be normal. And then my future voice spoke one last time. You're about to hang up on everything you still care about. I swallowed hard. What do I do? A pause. Long. Then, don't let the silence answer first. And just like that, the line stayed open. But I wasn't sure anymore if I was the one listening, or the one being warned from the other side.